Spartan successes, scholastic support, and simulated socials. All this and more as the Stafford Weekly News starts now. Welcome to the Friday, September 23rd edition of the Stafford Weekly News. I'm Randall Williams. The Stafford High School Spartans won their game last week, but that wasn't just a football game. It was part of a process called homecoming.
Well, during the week of homecoming, it's a very busy time for us here at Stafford High School. Our students get into the festivities by having different dress-up days each day. This year they chose a lot of great themes that were fun for them and fun for staff. Everybody gets involved. And in the district, the fun thing is that the middle school, the elementary school, the ECC, the STEM, they all get into it as well and participate with us with their own themes. This leads us into our Thursday night community pep rally. Very fun and exciting event for the community. This year, we actually had a JV football game prior to that, and it allowed us to get more people in than we normally do. Lots of people who were here for the game stayed and participated in that. So the pep rally followed by the burning of the S, which is always a fun event for our students. And great cooperation between the school and Stafford Fire Department. Leading into Friday, which is a very busy day, where we have our parade during the afternoon. This year we got rained on a little bit during the parade, but it was still fun for everybody. And that led us into we go straight from the parade into our homecoming pep rally to celebrate the coming of the homecoming game on Friday night. So when I was in school, we had a bonfire actually out in the back of the complex back there. It was a very fun event for us, for the community. That has been scaled down over time. As the neighborhoods build up around us, it became harder to do a full-on bonfire. So that turned into the burning of the S, which has turned into, like I said, a fun and exciting tradition for the students to celebrate the coming of the homecoming game. Homecoming is important, I think, for a lot of reasons for schools, especially in Texas. In Texas we do things bigger with our mums and things like that. But it's important for our current students to understand the history and tradition of Stafford High School and everybody that's come before them, and being able to understand that Stafford High School is built on the people that came before them, and it's important. And it's important at the game, to mix those groups together, the people that graduated previously versus students that are here. And again, in Stafford, we get a celebration with, not just high school students, but middle school, elementary school students. We're all there together. So it really helps our students understand that Spartan pride runs deep, and that the idea of Spartans forever, which is the first line of our school song, is true, that we are Spartans forever. And it helps our students understand that we've been doing this for a long time, and we're going to continue doing this for a long time.
Another annual school event coincided with homecoming this year, so let John King bring on the cute for this story.
We're celebrating the end of the 6 weeks, and it's also homecoming week, so we have dual functions going on throughout the year this year, because our theme is Stafford Early Childhood Center, a magical place to be. So each month we have Disney dress-up days, and just so happened today, being the end of the 6 weeks and it's Disney dress-up day, it's also homecoming. So we decided to just go ahead and keep the dress-up day and do it in conjunction with homecoming, and say that we're spreading a little magic around for our football team to be able to defeat the Mustangs. It's important, especially at this age level, we have pre-K3, pre-K4, and kinder, so 3, 4, and 5-year-olds. And so it's about creating that joy and love of learning and being in school. And so when students see that they can have fun learning and have fun being in school as well, then that promotes them to, or encourages them to want to do better and work harder and come to school every day and be here and know that they can have fun and still learn at the same time. When I see students coming in their princess costumes or prince costumes, it warms my heart because I know that the parents are also engaged and participating because they dress them up. And so it just lets me know that, we have that homeschool connection and that there's participation and that the families are buying into what we are trying to share and convey over. And I just get a kick out of seeing the kids, and they look so excited. And again, it gives them an opportunity to be their little individual selves and just have fun for a little bit. Each year has been a different theme. Last year we were wild about learning, so it was going on an adventure and more like animal theme. And so, yes, this year it's a magical place to be. Our ultimate goal here at Stafford Early Childhood Center is, of course, to prepare students to be ready for elementary school, for first grade. We want to build their executive functioning skills, help them to develop. We focus on whole child development, which that entails identifying their talents and their little hidden skills and helping them grow and develop emotionally, socially, physically, as well as academically. So when we have themes like this and when we have dress-up days, it not only provides an opportunity for community involvement and for students to have fun, it also helps them to see that, hey, we can be different but still embrace one another. We teach them about how to accept differences and how to interact and respond to one another. Just kind of thinking outside the box and just giving them different experiences and exposing them to different things. So ultimately, it's just about helping them to grow emotionally and socially. It builds interaction with one another because when they see each other in their different costumes, they're complimenting one another, and it gives them talking points, so we're building language. So, it's not just to be dressing up and just to be doing something fun. There are hidden skills underneath all of those layers that we are building. I am the queen from Snow White. Some people say Maleficent, or it could be any of those evil queens. Of the one from Snow White, but I feel it's important that I engage and I participate in the activities as well, and the kids and the teachers get a kick out of seeing me do it as well. And I'm a kid at heart; it's fun for me too. And again, it gives an opportunity to talk about the stories, because when the kids ask, then we talk about Snow White. We talk about the story of Sleeping Beauty, and that's part of the pre-K curriculum with fairy tales and fables and all of that. So it just gives us an opportunity to elaborate on that a little bit more and bring it to life. It's all about bringing the learning to life for the children.
Clarifying credit. Next.
In Stafford, diversity is not just a number, it's who we are.
When you are here, you become part of the story.
You can sleep well knowing we're always on the job and looking out for you.
It's a great place for growth and opportunity.
Tradition starts here.
We teach your children and we stick around for your grandchildren.
We are one. We are Stafford.
This is the city of Stafford, and we are one.
Public schools have been under stress from a number of different directions lately, and the Fort Bend Chamber of Commerce shows how to relieve and support these important institutions. Fernando Ramirez submits this report.
So today we're going to talk about some practical tips and ideas for any of us as individuals who want to show our support for public education. How can they do that? And if you're with an organization like we are here today at the Chamber of Commerce, how can an organization also show their support for public education? As an individual, there are so many simple things that one can do. I'll give you an example. Right now, our teachers need our support more than ever, and we need them more than ever. So what we can do is thank them, simply by writing a thank you note to a teacher that might be your student's teacher, calling the principal of a particular school in your neighborhood or in another neighborhood in which you don't belong, but you know you'd like to show support for, and just say, how can I help? Maybe that's bringing breakfast. Maybe it's serving as a mentor for an hour a day, helping a student learn to read. But just ask, what can I do to help? As a business, for example, you can do the same thing. Reach out and say, how can my business support your campus? It might be doing a school supply drive. Maybe there's a particular need for that. Maybe there's a science camp that happens that has a cost associated with it. Maybe that's a way for a small business to also support a campus and help its students learn about science at camp.
My job as the Vice Chair of Education is to identify speakers and topics that have importance in today's society relative to public education. I've known Missy Bender for over 10 years, and she was a former trustee on the Plano ISD school board when I first met her, and she has since moved on to work for Raise Your Hand Texas. So she's here today to talk about advocacy, how everyone can advocate on behalf of public education. Advocacy begins at home, and so she's got some good tips on how to do that, very practical advocacy tips on how to do that. And in the context of the larger picture, advocacy is important because Texas is educating fully 10% of all the school children in the United States. So how goes Texas, so goes the country.
So Raise Your Hand Texas is a nonpartisan, nonprofit public education advocacy organization. As individuals or organizations, to build relationships and look for ways to educate them about public education, maybe through a candidate forum, a nonpartisan candidate forum, or an event like today. We work to engage them, to get them involved in showing their support for public education, and then we activate them during legislative session, which happens every other year in Texas, so that they can demonstrate their support for the things they want to support at the Capitol and affect public education policy.
The way to get involved is just Google Fort Bend Chamber of Commerce. It'll bring up the website, and it shows all the different divisions within the Fort Bend Chamber of Commerce, including education. You can Google on that, and you can see how to reach out and contact me and get involved. We'd be happy to have you.
So a couple of ideas. Go to our website. It's raiseyourhandtexas.org. Search on advocacy to find out who, like me, represents you in your area and reach out to them.
I hope they will learn some practical tips and be encouraged and feel empowered to advocate in a professional way with members of the Texas House of, the Texas House Representatives and the Texas Senate, and also not just with them, but also with their friends and neighbors where they live, because it takes all of us to advocate for the things that we believe in.
I hope that they walk away with one great idea that either I've presented or that they come up with their own and say, I'm going to do that.
Credit can seem to be a confusing tangle of strange terms and processes. Just what is a FICO score and why is it ruining my life? Luckily, Fort Bend County Libraries recently held a class demystifying it. If you're puzzled by things like the difference between credit reports and credit scores, Fort Bend County Libraries had you covered with a recent presentation on understanding credit.
Well, it's really talking about digging credit. What is credit? What is a FICO score, right? What negatively impacts a credit? How do you reestablish the credit? And the tiers of how lenders look at it to determine a lending need for the individual. There's 3 bureaus that every lender uses to be able to determine your credit worthiness. That is Equifax, Trust Union, and Experian. Each of those determine your trade lines, have different information about your payment history, but the most accurate one is Equifax. Most lenders, about 90% of lenders, use that credit bureau. First, we always recommend for you to go ahead and contact your financial institution. And there is other resources, such as the CFPB. Great information for you to be able to go ahead and find out about how to build credit, any fraud that you might have, and other resources within that website itself.
The CFPB is the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, a government organization specializing in matters like mortgages, fraud, and credit reports. It has, among other things, a 5-step plan to getting and keeping good credit. First, pay your loans on time, every time. Don't get close to your credit limit. Don't max out those cards. Now keep this up over time to strengthen your score. Only apply for credit that you need, and fact-check your credit report at least once a year.
Well, bottom line is that credit affects everybody. It affects your cost of living. It affects your buying power. And it follows you everywhere you go. I could definitely say that for the most part, knowledge is power. And the more knowledge you have with and about your credit, the more buying power you also have.
For Stafford CSI, this is Randall Williams. Historic hoopla, next.
You can try, but you won't find another city like Stafford, Texas.
Serving our community just like you like it.
Taking care of you and your home since 1945.
We believe in STEM to learn and STEM to earn.
We're heading into college certified and career ready.
As a former student of Stafford, I take pride in keeping our classrooms safe.
We are Stafford, we are one.
When was the last time you went to a garden party? No matter how long that was, the George Ranch can beat it. Fernando Ramirez jumps in the time machine to boogie down 1860s style.
Our 1860s garden party here, we just have some games, the Victorian era. Any excuse to have a party was a good excuse. And so, beautiful weather outside today. We have some wonderful people out here with us. And we just have some refreshments, tea, lemonade, some cookies, and playing some games. So, it looks like they're mostly playing croquet and what we call graces. Graces is these round hoops with 2 sticks. They toss to each other. It was considered more of a girls' game because it was to show how graceful they were while still having some fun. A little history behind the actual structure itself. It was built in the 1850s. It was originally located in the Brookshire, Fulshire area, but it was moved out here in the early 2000s. And it's here to represent the second generation of the family that originally ranched this land. And that generation is the Ryan generation. So the first generation out of the 12 children, their oldest daughter is very successful, and we tell her story out here. At 16, she inherits over 8,000 acres of land from a godfather. Then, when she marries her husband, they sign a prenuptial agreement first, and they make most of their money in the cattle industry. So the little cows that we have out here in the pastures, they're very cheap here in Texas. So the height of the cattle drive era, they would move them up north and could potentially make up to $80,000 for a good-sized average herd. And we tell that story at the house here. I think it's really important to understand history, and not just the major events that we learn in school, but how everyday people lived and how it really closely relates to how we still live today in our own lives. We have a very strong core of teen volunteers. We call them the Grits, the George Ranch Interpretive Teens. And I absolutely love working with those kids. They are very dedicated. They spend the hottest part of the year coming out here almost every day, helping us tell our story and show how people lived during that time period. And it's great because they are still kids and they do exactly what a child would do during that time period. Appreciation for what our ancestors had and what they worked towards to give us, how the world has changed, and hopefully an appreciation for some of the little modern conveniences like air conditioning that we have now today. I just have to say that I am so grateful for all the volunteers that we have. Again, we could not do this without our volunteers. And then I hope everyone has a chance to come out, live a little bit of history.
That's a wrap on our news for this week. Thank you for joining us. For everyone here at Stafford Weekly News, I'm Randall Williams. May all your news be good news. This program was produced on the Stafford campus of Houston Community College.